Hey there guys, how's it going? Just so you know, before the video starts, that I bought a new mic today, so the audio quality is going to sound a lot more better than my previous videos because I was recording on my AirPods, which didn't register my voice a little bit too well. So therefore, yeah, here I am with the new mic today. So anyways, onwards to the video. Have you guys ever done something that is really pleasurable? Something like partying, dousing down alcohol, or even scrolling on social media for hours on end? You may experience the great highs that all these sources bring, but also the really deep lows that comes afterwards. The state that you put yourself under after consuming such pleasure is called dopamine overstimulation, and it is the result of dopamine levels dramatically dropping after a really big dopamine release. So I've definitely had a fair share of dopamine overstimulation cases throughout my years, especially throughout my younger years, while I was still really skinny on the couch every day gaming. If back then, if I went off my devices for like an hour or so, I would experience a terribly deep low, and the case would be pretty bad. So a dopamine overstimulation simply means that the dopamine receptors in your brain and in your nervous system is being overused. The baseline level of dopamine in your system will dramatically decrease after a consistent consumption of pleasure. This is why you feel terrible for a couple of days after a really big night out with your friends. The real danger when it comes to dopamine overstimulation is when the individual is faced with a choice to either choose the cope or the cure. Many individuals who have felt the effects of dopamine overstimulation will certainly choose to drown themselves in pleasure in order to feel good again, because everybody wants to feel good. And what results is a crippling addiction to whatever the individual keeps consuming. If you are overly stimulated, you have to find a way to get out, or else you may enforce a addictive cycle, and before you know it, you have sold your soul for a life of quick doses of pleasure. If you're ready to change your life and have realized that pleasure will only make your life empty, then the first step is to cut out any consumption that brings you a considerable amount of pleasure. And the faster you do this, the more easier things get during recovery. Of course, cutting out your favorable source of pleasure is going to be very hard. But if you have clearly thought about wanting to live a life worth living, then you have to do it. So cut out all the pleasure and sit with your problems and your thoughts. The second step is to get out there and get active. When you're off the pleasure, you may find that you experience some bodily pains and aches, likely resulting from sitting around and consuming all day. Exercise will help you alleviate some of these pains and bring you a more natural and delayed high because you've worked for it. That will not only benefit you in the short run, but also improve your image and your confidence in the long run. The third and final stretch is to do meaningful work. This is the type of work that will make you feel engaged and embraced in. This is the type of work that will have you working for hours and hours, only leaving you wanting to do more work later on. More importantly, having meaningful work that engages you in life will spare you from the dangers of a stagnant and passive life.